Welcome to the Look Good, Move Well podcast.
Okay, so before we jump into this, we have been requesting almost every episode for quite some time now for suggestions for podcast topics, and we're going to switch it up. Today, DM us your favorite idea for a FBB banter topic.
Anything goes.
Anything goes. In our team meetings every week, we call these icebreakers, but this is just FBB banter. So if there's a question, something funny, something you want to just a little snippet on.
Something personal.
I'd love to, let's do that. Yeah. So please DM us FBB banter, top topics that you want to hear. And then because we don't have any yet, I'm going to ask this one, Satya.
Okay.
What is a personal hygiene thing that you just are maybe a little bit over the top with? I'll leave it there.
I'm definitely going to say my love for fragrance. It's definitely unnecessary, but I'm kind of a girly girl, and yet I work at like a sweaty gym environment where I can't often express my true inner self. So I'm really into different perfumes and things, and I'm not wearing any today because I just came in and trained before this, and sometimes I worry that my over-the-top fragrance is just a little too much for whenever it's like trying to sweat and breathe heavily. But yeah, I like to keep it clean. You know, I'm very into the whole personal hygiene routine. Yeah, top to bottom, all the nooks and crannies. You know, the skincare routines, the moisturizers.
Yeah. Okay. Right on.
Yeah.
I'm very much the opposite. I'm like, I pretty much have no personal hygiene like routines other than I'll give you my one, but like when it comes to like no fragrances, don't use deodorant, I use like a beef tallow bar. That's my soap. And I like don't do anything to my hair, nothing to my hair. Uh-huh. No products go in my hair whatsoever. Yeah. That's it. That's the whole routine right there.
That's kind of amazing because you always smell completely unoffensive. Like you either smell good or you smell like nothing at all.
Well, hey, look at that. That's something. Yeah. In the summertime when it's like when I'm kind of just like in a perma state of sweat, I definitely get a little funk going. Megan lets me know. Babe, you're a little funky over there.
She's up closer than I am.
She's a little up closer. But I just sort of was like, and this was even like pre kind of me dipping my toe in the ancestral health community. Mm-hmm. I was just like, I just don't think it's a good idea to be like putting a bunch of things on my body. Like I don't do sunscreen. I don't do any I hate moisturizers. Like I tried to go with like some beef tallow moisturizer. I'm like, I just don't even like moisture. Like I just want to be dry to the bone. But when it comes to my teeth, I'm fanatical about it because I had such oral hygiene issues when I was a kid. I had so many cavities and I've just been through the ringer so many times with like tooth problems that I'm like, okay, well, I can't like fix the problems of my childhood. I'm still paying the price for a lot of that dental work, but like I'm going to be flossing. I floss like 4 times a day. Yeah. 4 or 5 times a day. You know, I'm brushing a couple times. I'm actually more fanatical about flossing than I am brushing. Like I'll brush maybe once or twice a day, but like it's like low priority because I actually now really understand like what causes like tooth decay and like how do you create healthy, strong teeth and which we can save for another topic or another day. But brushing is like it's kind of, I mean, it'll make you have fresh breath, but it's not like saving your teeth from decay. Really, it's like, how do we make strong bones? Well, we feed them the right nutrients and we load them mechanically. And your teeth are your bones. So how do you make strong teeth? You got to eat the right food and you got to mechanically load them by eating things that are like tough and like chewing on things.
5 pieces of gum at one time.
5 pieces of gum, or like when I have these little picks and I just like, I'm always like chewing on like plastic things. Like
You always chew your pens.
Well, I don't even use pens anymore, but yeah, I used to chew my pens a lot. Yeah, it is very ancestral because like it is, because Nate asked the question behind the camera, but it's like, nowadays, like, what does food look like? It looks like super mushy, like processed, like I want my meat to fall off the bone. But it's like, did we have slow cookers back in the day? It's like, no, we were like gnawing on bones and like, gnawing on like cartilage and like connective tissue in the animals that we were eating. And like, if we found, we didn't have like soft, buttery, smooth potatoes. Like if we found a tuber, we're like maybe probably, eating crunching a little bit, right? So anyway, mechanically load the teeth, feed it fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin A, D, K, E. These are like keys to like good health. And you get that from, things like bone marrow, things like organ meats, things like grass-fed tallow, things like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I floss a lot because I have gaps in certain teeth and I get food stuck in there. And so I'm just like, I got to get that stuff out. And this all started because I told you that some dental work I had done recently due to a, unfortunate breakage of a tooth that was already, half filled from when I was a kid. It closed down one of the gaps in between my molars to the point where I like can't get a piece of floss in there. And so I'm just like pissed about it. And I have to like, I'm like over here with my little like toothpick thing that I'm like digging in there with. It sucks. So anyway, that's my story. If you want to hear more about oral hygiene and tooth health, I'm getting all into it these days.
Oh man.
Yeah. But let's move on. Let's move right on.
Okay.
I saw a post I'll call him my good friend, Dr. John Berardi, who I was first introduced to in probably 1998, 1999.
Ooh,
old school. I was like just starting high school, and there was like, I was reading online fitness. Maybe it was like 2000. It was like the T Nation, testosterone.net.
I used to read that.
He was a guest author on there quite frequently, and anyway, started following him for a long time, or knew of him for a long time. You couldn't follow people back then. No, you just were like, I just read their stuff. Yeah. But we actually interviewed him on this podcast.
Yeah,
which is really, it was a. Do you remember that day? I was so stressed.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. We interviewed him and the woman that is like a big contributor to Precision Nutrition as well. Krista. Yeah.
I forget her last name.
Yeah. Well,
she designed all the educational stuff. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. She's designed a lot of the educational stuff in there. Anyway, on the same day, we had 2 back-to-back podcasts where we got to interview them. It was around the time that Berardi was releasing his Changemakers book. So he was kind of on the...
them.
Me and, Mizba did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back when Mizba was still on the podcast. Anyway, I was like, oh my God, I'm like interviewing my like hero. I'm like super stressed. I don't ever do this. Mizba, what do I do? Anyway, and like the last minute, like I had to like race to a new spot. I had to like do it from home, and then I had to like race over here to the gym because it like the power went out or something. I don't know. I was like totally... it was like the most stressed out I'd ever been like on a day of work in a long time. And so I kind of blacked out for the whole podcast.
Yeah. I remember a few really stressful days for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, there was, he has been posting on social media some winners lately.
Oh yeah.
And this is the one that I sent you yesterday. And then a couple in the last few weeks, I just thought it'd be good to read them, and then we can sort of launch into a discussion about what this means to us and whether we agree or disagree.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Agree or disagree? Most people aren't worried about how they look in a swimsuit right now. They aren't looking to lose that last 10 pounds. And they aren't saying, today's number one priority is nailing my macros. So those goals were a 2019 luxury, as he writes here. These days, people are much more interested in just getting through the day without feeling so overwhelmed, worried, and exhausted. They want to feel like themselves again. And between school disruptions and work anxiety, government mandates, and health fears, stress-filled days, and sleepless nights, they're yearning to take back some control of their lives. Maybe you can relate. Make no mistake, nutrition and fitness are more important than ever. But the reality is this: people's needs and wants have changed a lot. So this is actually, now that I'm reading it, this is like, I think this is a post that was put out probably like mid-pandemic. And how do we feel? Like, is this still very present today? And with like looming recession or already signs of recession and just call it global craziness that might be going on, or changes that are happening. Is this what we're seeing? And then how, if people want to just feel like themselves again, and they want to, and their needs and wants have changed, how do we define what those needs and wants are?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop there.
Okay. I agree with all of that. I was thinking about it, and I don't know if things always feel this way, but I don't think things have always felt this way in terms of the number of general big scary monsters that feel like they're looming in our society, culture, whatever you want to call it. And I feel like since the pandemic, it's felt to me like we haven't necessarily arrived back at that feeling of solidity where you feel really stable in your life circumstances and you're able to just flourish. And I think that his sort of analogy of the peacetime goals of, hey, it's peacetime and I can just focus on my bikini body and my dream kitchen and my whatever. Like, I don't feel like that's the reality for many people currently.
Yeah. I was going to read that additional line, but it was like during peacetime, he wrote in his caption, like during peacetime is when you start to set these very, specific and sort of like self-indulgent goals. It's like, oh yeah, I really want to dial in my six pack. We talked about it last week on the podcast, but it was like, things are going great. And now all of a sudden you're worried about like sculpting your chest. Yeah. Versus like 3 months ago, you didn't care about sculpting your chest. You're like, I just want to get back into shape. Like things aren't really good right now. Yeah. So, it's interesting. It's like, I almost felt more of the peacetime. How should I say this? When life was really turbulent or things felt very unsettled for a lot of people during the pandemic, I felt I had my own experience with it, but at the same time, life had gotten super simple because there was just, so many mandates and so many guardrails and guidelines, like what you had to follow, that, life, you couldn't do much. Like
nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to go. Had to mostly stay home. Like, vast majority of businesses were closed. Our gym was closed. Like, okay, so that just cut out, the 5 places that I went and spent the most time were suddenly closed. So I was just at home. And during that like very scary but also simple time, I felt more like able to make, self-indulgent goals. Like, I'm going to get super shredded. This is awesome. Like, well, whatever the thing was, right? But yeah, now it's like, there's still a lot of, I think I even said this to somebody yesterday, or, I was having a conversation with one of the coaches this week. Like, we just having our monthly check-in. It was like, I think some of the ramifications of how we had to navigate pandemic through laws, mandates, public health, blah, 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 like it's trickling down now. And now there's like, you know, economic and kind of some national global crises happening, you know, 2-3 years after the fact. And it's got people like feeling a little more unsettled in life than that kind of peacetime concept.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other thing is that we've just come off a really intensive project within functional bodybuilding of doing a deep dive on customer research from our existing customers, potential customers, and really learning what matters to people and what they're struggling with and what they're really finding value in. And I can also corroborate that I was not hearing the theme of, I need my bikini body, I need my six pack, I need my sculpted shoulders right now. And I think what I heard a lot of instead was, I want to feel confident. I want to feel like the things that have held me back in the past, like injuries, burnout, falling off the wagon, lack of consistency, programs that just don't fit my life, that I have a way forward without those fears coming to pass again, without those past obstacles sending me right back down the path that I don't want to go down. And instead, I want to feel strong in my body. I want to feel resilient from injury. I want to feel like I can kind of get after it, but I'm not looking to win the CrossFit Games and I'm not looking to be at my ultimate physical peak. It's just what's enough of a feeling of confidence in my body and my resiliency that I can kind of feel like I'm moving forward and making progress on something and feeling attached and motivated and like I'm seeing little changes that excite me and motivate me week by week, whether those are big or small, instead of just feeling like, oh, I'm up against this wall.
Yeah. Something else, and this is also related to one of his other posts that came out this week, but I'm just sort of piecing this together and how it relates to what we're talking about. The post was kind of a funny picture. It was a picture of a book that was wedged in a window, and it was the book was holding the window open. So like basically this person saw like, oh, this is what they're using this book for. This book is a window prop. That's basically what it's come down to. The book was actually a book that I've really enjoyed reading. It's called Tools of Titans from Tim Ferriss. And it's a collection of, maybe 200, I don't know how many hundreds of people that he's interviewed over the years. And, he interviews the top performers, like millionaires, billionaires, like super successful people in their respective fields. And it kind of asks them like, how do you guys and girls like approach the first morning, minutes of your day, and what are your hacks to life? What's the morning routine of the millionaire billionaire club? And it was like, oh, look, cool, like this book finally found its real purpose, which is to wedge itself in between the window and the window frame.
Right.
It's like, it's not really, no one's picking up the book right now to read like, what does the super wealthy person do with the first 3 hours of their day to set them up for success?
Right.
At the same time, there's this like, I gravitated towards it a little bit, but like there's this real strong emotional connection that many people have had to a particular trend on social media lately, which is, and it started, as far as I know, it started with Alex Hormozy, but it's kind of trickled into other people where it's like, hey, guess what my morning routine is? Wake up, have some coffee, and get the fuck after it. Yeah. It's like, what, like, all this nonsense about like, you need to like do all these affirmations and journals and meditate and then take a cold plunge and then sauna and then go for a walk and then stare at the sun and then sun your balls and and then by noon when you're done with all that, start to do some work, right? It's like, hell no. Like I wake up at 4 a.m. I slug a cup of coffee, pop some Nicorette gum, and I'm getting after it until 3 p.m. and then I take my first meeting.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, I want that morning routine. That's we got to do that. We got to get stuff done. I don't need to hear about the cush life of this person who's obviously they're super successful, but did they is that the morning routine they had when they were building their success, when they were in their 20s? No, it's their success. It's their morning routine, in their 40s and 50s when they've accumulated a lot of wealth. And it's okay, that works for you now because, you're worth $100 million. And if you want to do that now, you can, but you were grinding it through this. Anyway, all that's to say, what is resonating with people? It's I don't need the super perfect, if I have 3 hours to kill, this is how I'm going to start my day in the most methodical way possible. It's give me some practical tools to just start regaining, control of my life. And his point, Hormozi's point is you're not going to you're going to build confidence by doing the work, and the work is now you're reaping rewards from the work and seeing success from the work. And then that's going to make you confident in yourself. You're oh, look, I did the thing. Oh, now I'm confident, right? You're not going to gain confidence by writing about I want to be more confident. I'm going to feel when I do this, I'll be more okay, when you, go do the thing. And that's how you build confidence.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. Ramit Sethi always used to talk about the morning routine a long time ago. I don't meditate, just I go to work.
Yeah.
And I think that it's there's a veil of distraction sometimes when you look at all the people who have attained success, and people tend to latch on to the mythical, magical aspects that they think got it to work for that person. It must have been the gratitude journal, or it must have been the meditating, because I heard a lot of successful people do that without stepping back to look at what the actual actions that drive results are. And that's one thing I like about what Alex Hormozi says, is that you commit to actions. And I think not just any actions, but you're looking at what actions drive results and how can I do more of those? How can I do them when I'm feeling tired? How can I do them when I'm feeling sluggish? How can I do them when I'm feeling confident? Just keep doing them, because you're going to feel any which way about it. And it's not necessarily about all of the other stuff. It's just about getting the important things done. Mm-hmm. And I think that is refreshing to hear. and it is nice to hear something so practical and grounded. And to bring it more into the fitness and health landscape, what are the things that you think are the real, what's the morning routine equivalent of get a cup of coffee and get after it in health and fitness, rather than all of the sunning your balls?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think it's grounded in some of the different practices that are out there, but the morning routine that's going to give people confidence is the one that you can commit enough time to that you start to feel some of the benefits, the health benefits of it, but not so much time that it takes away from you making, strides in other areas of your life where you need to build confidence and you need to start seeing, some early wins, to get back on track with I can do this. I feel great about myself. I'm on the right path. So it's a morning routine that injects you with just kind of the right dose of energy to kind of get going. And somebody who's on the path, they if it works for Alex to wake up and have a cup of coffee and get right to work, it's well, he's got a lot of business success along the way that made him, feel like he can wake up drink a cup of coffee and know exactly what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And once upon a time, he was waking up at 4 a.m. to just show up at the gym to follow around a mentor.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't his plan. He did that because somebody else told him what to do. And then over time, he probably, somewhere in that routine was like, he got up and trained at 4 a.m. And then he was like clear-headed and could go about his day and sell gym memberships or whatever. Like it changed and it evolved over time too for him.
Yeah, but like apart from a morning routine, I mean, what are some of the big wins that people just, from a purely practical standpoint, it's like, hey, forget about all of the like crazy routines and training practices and like, I need this specific band to get this result. Like, what are just the big, most practical things people can zero in on to get that feeling of like, oh, I'm confident and I'm moving forward, instead of like, I'm going to, hit a wall and go right back down.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's, it's move, eat, sleep, and really start there. And like, I think what does it look, what are those like early wins? Where do they come from in those departments? It's, a daily practice of moving. And I think that the time when people are most, and this is like pretty much across the board, where people are most likely and have the greatest sense of like will to do this is early in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Getting up and moving kind of first thing or within the first, hour and a half of your day, I think is optimal. And that could literally just look like get up and go for a 15-minute brisk walk.
Mm-hmm.
And you just got movement, you got steps in, you got some fresh air, and then you can move into step number 2, which is like, you're going to nourish yourself. Like start to eat something, early in the day and just slam down protein. However you like to get protein, make your first meal of the day as full of protein as you can make it. Whatever that feels like. 20 grams of protein from 0 is better than, 20 is better than 0.
Mm-hmm.
40 is better than 20. 60 might be better than 40. Like there's probably a upper limit to like where you're starting to cash in
400 grams.
Yeah. Don't need to get 400 grams for breakfast, but that would be the next thing. And then the sleep thing, that also can start in the morning. Wake up at the same time every day.
Mm-hmm.
Weekends, weekdays, all the same. Like people worried about how am I going to get a better night's sleep? Don't worry about when you go to sleep. Worry about when you wake up, and wake up at the same time every day. Get morning movement in outside, eat protein to set your energy levels right for the day. And then you'll get tired when you're supposed to get tired and you'll want to fall asleep. It's not going to happen on the first night. It might not happen on the second, but it might probably happen within a week, 2 weeks, certainly the first month if you stay consistent. So it might start with like having to set an alarm. So you set an alarm for a certain time and start waking up then. Don't make it so aggressive that you're like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed. But just, hey, at 6 a.m. every day, wake up. Or at 7 a.m., wake up every day. Or 7:30, if you want to go back to 5 a.m., like whatever you want to commit to. But it's like, this is what I want to create rhythm-wise.
Yeah.
Those are absolutely like massive, massive wins for people if they can commit to those 3 things. Wake up at the same time every day. Get movement in. Some small amount of movement. Walk. Like a little yoga routine, a little stretch flow, something like that. I prefer walking. I like something where you're breathing. It's cyclical. It's repetitive. And if you can get outside to do that, awesome. And then eat protein.
For people who are struggling with like that stop-start rhythm of getting into the gym, sometimes I'm in the gym, sometimes I'm not in the gym. I'm working shifts. I'm all over the place. I'm too tired today. For people who are trying to just get that good enough to move forward, practical consistency, do you think that it's better to have some training every day, or like 5 times a day, 5 times a week, or like 3 times a week? Or like, how do you advise for that person who's just all over the place to get moving in a way that starts to reap the benefits of an actual training rhythm?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This was kind of an interesting thing. Like I was having this email exchange with one of our clients, FBB clients, who's been reading our emails and, shooting me messages about what's been resonating with her. And something she said and totally resonated with me too, is like, one thing I found when I'm traveling and when things are a little like hectic was that I'm having more success when I travel thinking about, okay, I'm on the road for 5 days. Things are not like my normal routine, rather than get like 5 like kind of mediocre, not so great workouts in that are like 20 or 30 minutes. I'm just going to I plan for 2 workouts where I can like really train for 60 minutes and like put in a focused session. And then the other days I don't stress about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I was like, yeah, okay, I like that. When I travel, I'm like, I'm not going to get into the gym every day, but I'm pick a couple days to get into the gym and to like, these are my focus days. And the rest of the days I just walk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get out and walk. And what I make every single day about is some movement. And I think that's the message. This is to answer your question. It's like every day, 7 days a week, what's your movement practice?
Mm-hmm.
And for most people, that's probably the most realistic thing is walk a certain number of steps a day.
Mm-hmm.
Do it every day. Do you want to do it in one big chunk in the morning? Do you want to do a morning walk, a lunchtime walk, and an evening walk for 15 minutes each? Is that what you want to try? Pick what works for you, and make that an everyday practice. And then on top of that, training is a different category.
Yeah.
You have daily movement, and then you have training. Your daily movement, what you do, how you move your body every day, your basal metabolism, which is a product of your muscle mass, and the foods you eat, that is what your that is like the vast majority of the calories that you burn, and that is the vast majority of like what is impacting your diet and how your body looks and feels. So getting down your daily movement practice, the food quality that you're having, and then building up your basal metabolism, that's what we're after. So training is not part of that equation. Training it's going to affect your energy output, but I think it's not really how people should view training. Training is not the place to go and burn calories. Training is the place to go and move the needle on your basal metabolism. Training is a place where you want to go into the gym, not to burn calories, but to train. And so you have to really protect that time. And if you can only do it once a week, but you can really go and train hard once a week, that's better than 2 or 3 days of kind of mediocre training.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because remember, you're moving, you're going to move, but the training's different. So, for my wife right now, it's like her movement is like, she's in her office, she sits a lot for her job, and so she's got a little Peloton bike right there. Her movement is, I get on the Peloton bike in between clients and I do like 20-minute spin sessions, so those are her movement sessions. And that's what she's doing to make sure that she's staying active each day. And she has to be diligent about that because every day she's got to move. But then 3 days, 4 days a week, we train. And she still does the bikes. She still does the little Pelotons, like that's still part of the movement practice. So I hope that answered the question, but I definitely think it's, focus on building a base movement practice, and then, okay, what's your training look like? Eventually it might get to, I train 6 days a week. That's my movement practice. Is that the best thing? If you can be consistent at it, sure.
Mm-hmm.
It could be great. But that's not where people are generally starting.
Yeah. Where are you sitting right now on that spectrum between I'm going to get super, super dialed in on this specific aspect and like I'm just going to keep it going?
I'm sort of like, I did that super, super dialed in thing during like the August time frame, August to early September. And because I wanted to sort of like, it was more of like a self-experiment. I wanted to push myself. And it was a good reminder of like what I know I'm capable of. And then within about a month, I was like, after I'd kind of, I guess like, probably shortly after my birthday, early October, I was just like, yeah, like I don't really have the desire and the mental fortitude right now to be like super dialed in on that. Like my primary and principal motivators and goals and things that I have like are not in the physical body realm. It's like I want to actually feel good enough to do other things. And when, you push your body into this mode of like change and to really like, manipulate your, body composition and your performance, like it starts to become all consuming. It's a very consuming time period. And that can be important for people because it gives them a mindset shift and helps them build confidence that then they can take into something else. So if you're in that place, that could be a valuable tool for you to build confidence, is to get kind of singularly focused on a health and fitness outcome. But it also then has like a point of diminishing returns where you're like, oh, I'm just all so focused on this, and I really want to be focused on some of these other areas. So how can I transition that? So yeah, I would say I'm starting to shift my focus from like, I'm physically trying to like change my body and perform in a certain way to now like, I want to feel really good and energized and, not like confident, but like fully equipped to take on the challenges that are ahead of me each day. And if that means like being a little less precise with my macros, if it means like, not, getting my food quality perfect every single day, if it means like, oh, I'm feeling a little like hungry, I'm not supposed to be like eating right now, but like I'm distracted because I'm just thinking about it, like, oh, forget it, I'll just have a little snack, or I'll have some popcorn today, or whatever, like that is helping me to just divert some of that energy in a different direction. Yeah. Well, any other thoughts before we close today's podcast?
Let's see. I just think that I like how accessible this particular post from John Berardi was, where it just reframes that there are so many different ways to use movement and nutrition, and a lot of what we see is from a social pressure aspect to use these tools to have a perfect body and a superficial goal, which can be completely motivating. I'm not knocking that if that's what gets you going. And I respect people who are putting effort towards the things that matter to them in any respect. But I think there's just not a lot of representation of how do I use movement and training and sleep and food to just feel good, like not crush it, like just survive and keep a healthy rhythm going in my life. And I think that that's where a lot of health professionals are trying to guide people, but that message sometimes gets lost in the overwhelming amount of you have to have a perfect butt or perfect abs.
Totally. Yeah. Nicely put. Okay. A reminder to everyone, please send us your DMs for podcast topics, but also today's special request. Send us your FBB banter ideas. Okay. And next time we will be back with something fresh and new for you.
We will. See you next time.
Bye.